Because the point of meditation is to be in the moment. And if you're moving, if you're doing your Tai Chi, and you find yourself not thinking about anything else but what you're doing in that moment, then you're meditating.
I get that.
Now, to do sort of the Buddhist monk way of meditating, where you're sitting for hours and hours and hours, that is like anything, it takes practice to do. And it's a skill that you have to acquire, the ability to remain seated and in the moment, and you'll spend your entire lifetime trying to do that. Yeah. But I think people approach, so let me ask you this. When you think of meditation, what comes to mind?
Transcendental meditation,
Okay.
which I first learned of meditation many years ago, was transcendental meditation. I was going to go through that course, but I never did.
Right.
You know, life was happening and I just didn't devote the time. Is there a difference between transcendental meditation and mindful meditation, which we're doing?
The methodology might be different, but the purpose is the same, I would say. With transcendental, with any kind of meditation, what separates one from another is the pageantry around it. Right? It's how you begin, what incense you burn, what chants you make, how you breathe, all that. It has its pageantry. And all of that pageantry is designed to put you into the space. The more you go to that space, the more that space becomes the space for you. All right, so every time, think about when you start a Tai Chi class. And we open our Tai Chi class the same way, pretty much, every time. So you're mentally prepared, even if you're distracted going into it. At some point between the initial Qigong sort of settling into our opening and into the first couple of warm-up exercises, you fall from being out of the class into being in the class. And there you stay until we end at the end of the class. It's a class a lot right there. So when you have, let's say, Buddhist monastic meditation, and there are many types, but when you think of the guy in the robes and the room with all the monks meditating, and there's a guy stoking incense, there's a guy hitting a gong, all of that stuff is there to psychologically prep you to be in the moment, right? The incense reminds you of a time when you were at peace in that room. That room is where you were at peace, even if it was just for a little bit. The gong is for you to remember that a moment is a moment. It's not just tick, 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 right? We think of moments as in seconds, and moments are moments that we share. A moment could be a second, could be a nanosecond, but a moment could also be a day. It could be a meal. It could be a lesson that you learn, a moment shared with a person. That day you went to a great adventure with your kid, whatever. There's these moments, but they're not just seconds around the clock. So the gong reminds you of that. And then you use the beads, you close your eyes and you use the beads as your guide for each breath. And there's a certain number of beads on just like a rosary. Right, certain number of beads, and as you breathe in, breathe out, you move a bead, breathe in, breathe out, move a bead, and then when you come to the end of the beads, that's when your meditation is done.
Meditation is done?
Yep, that's
when you
done.
Come to the end.
That's just one version of meditation.
That's like a monastery.
That's pretty common, actually. I mean, if you're a Buddhist or a Taoist, or you're into meditation and you're using that particular methodology, then you would in fact do that. And when you're beginning, you'd have a smaller length of beads, right? And you figured if you take 5 deep breaths, that's about 30 seconds. Right, 5 really deep breaths. If you've got a lot of lung capacity, you might get it up to 45 seconds to a minute to really take it in, let it go, right? But let's say you're counting to either 3 or 5 for each inhale, each exhale. We'll say 5 for now, just to make a nice round number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Every 6th breath is a minute. And what you're doing at that point is in your mind, you're just counting off these numbers. And if you can focus on just counting off those numbers, that's you being in the moment. It's not that your mind is blank or that you're not thinking about anything. And I think a lot of people go wrong in meditation when they think, I've got to clear my mind, and I can't. Well, no, you can't clear your mind. There's trillions of neurons firing at all times. Just to be asleep, to take a breath, your brain is going insane, or firing off all this energy. So when you go into meditation, whatever you're thinking about, be there in that moment thinking about it. If you can't get away from thinking about what's going on with the bills, okay, think about the bill. Just the bill.
Is there a time limit of meditation that you should meditate for a certain amount of time?
You should do what's comfortable and what you enjoy. People go into meditation, they go into Tai Chi, they go into yoga, they want to find their center, they want to do this, they want to do that, and the whole nine. There's only one reason to do it, because you enjoy it. That's it. If you're not enjoying it, you're not going to do it. If you're enjoying the process, when we say something like the 108, it seems daunting, but at some point you're probably going to want to take a shake at it, right? Because you enjoy your Tai Chi. When we said we were going to go from 8 to 27 or 24, you didn't bat an eye. You're like, okay. Because you just enjoy it. So for you, it's not an end process. It's a step in the process. You yourself are the process. Not the meditation, not the Tai Chi.
But what's the end result of the meditation?
Being in the moment, giving yourself a break. Whenever you're able to do that, it's as if, when we enter the Hall of Harmony, I've said this several times, in other formats, you enter your Hall of Harmony, and basically the outside world kind of stops. There's some filter and push there. And that's why we do the movements before we walk in, to start prepping your mind, prepping your body to be in that space. You're creating the space around you. Once the space is created, then you walk in, Hall of Harmony, okay? Now you're in your space, now you're safe. At some point, what you're thinking about stops, and you're just in the moment until we step out. At which point, you've put distance between whatever it is you had walking into class. And it's got to now catch up to you. So you get some respite from whatever is going on, and from your mind being all over the place. You get to be right in the moment. And I believe Confucius said this, if you live in the past, you're depressed. If you live in the future, you're anxious. Happiness only exists in the moment. So the more you can be in the moment, theoretically, the happier you should be.
That's the Buddhist principle of meditation, to be in the moment.
Correct.
So you're not worried about the past, and you're not anxious about the future.
Correct.
You're in the moment.
If you go into meditation thinking about, I'm going to sit and I'm going to meditate for 5 minutes, and you go in with that mentality, you're just counting the clock down to 5 minutes. You're actually going into be in the moment by thinking about the future. Versus, I'm going to meditate. You sit and you just meditate.
Well, what about guided meditation, where you're thinking about becoming more creative, or you're thinking about beautiful art, where in that space of meditation you are getting creative with your thought to...
Guided meditation is great for beginners, and I would highly suggest guided meditation for beginners, because you have someone, you yourself are not reliant upon any result. You're opening yourself up for whoever is going to lead the meditation to guide you along the way. So that takes a lot of the anxiety out, it takes a lot of the pressure off your shoulders. There's no expectation. All you have to do is follow along.
Follow. But you could do that on your own if you...
Theoretically, yeah.
Supposedly, you're supposed to think good thoughts. This is all a positive thing. So you want to leave behind any negative thoughts. If you're worried about bills or anything, you leave that behind. You go into this with a positive thoughts in that moment. You're not worried about past, you're not worried about future, it's just in the moment. But you want a positive vibe to it. So do you bring something into that?
But what is a positive vibe
Okay,
at
all
the
right,
end of the day?
a waterfall.
Okay.
Maybe you will add a waterfall sound or rustling leaves. There are music for that. I find that helps me.
Yeah, it's a personal way of escaping worrying about the past and being frightful of the future. It's just a personal way of being in the moment. You find yourself to be peaceful. No one wants to sit on a bed of nails, right? You want to sit on a soft bed,
Right.
to be comfortable. And so if water, rustling leaf bathing calms you, and you find yourself at your calmest, at your happiest when you're in a certain location in space, then yeah, that's what you should think about. If that's what you're looking for.
Well, maybe that's why these monks meditate outside on a mountain. They could hear the water, the brook going by. You can hear the birds, and it puts them in a calm place.
It's the more distractions you have, so long as they're natural distractions, the easier it is to meditate, to be in the moment, because you get lost, and that's what you want. You just want to be gone. You're present. You're so present that you start to meld. All your senses start to meld into whatever's going on around you. I've had it happen several times in Tai Chi. You may have had it happen, even if it's just for a second, where you just kind of fade and you're just in the moment. You being in the moment, it's hard for me to describe what that's even like, to be fair. But it's you just being. That's it. You're just being through non-being. Right? By you not being in your head, you are being in the moment. I'm glad we talked that out. Thank you for joining us for that clip of our weekly podcast. If you want to get more bonus footage or join us for the entire podcast, head on over to Patreon, where our Eagle, Tiger, and Dragon subscribers get access to not only what we cast and talk about, but advanced lessons in your forms, in your Tai Chi, and in your life.